What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Dylan, it's Mitch, it's Kev. We're here for episode 12 of the Bottom Line podcast. It's been a minute. It's been a couple weeks. We've been able to get some good content out there. We got all those team previews coming out, but we're here to talk about some stuff, some breaking news that we're going to start off the top of the show with. Our favorite boy has been signed. I can't wait to talk about that. But we got Mitch here. Mitch, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm awesome. And it starts off with Cameron Meredith, the TheBottomLineView legend.
Yes.
He has been signed by the New England Patriots. And if you guys don't know the history behind Cameron Meredith on TheBottomLineView, last offseason, I hyped up Cameron Meredith as being the steal for the New Orleans Saints. We end up getting nearly 20,000 views on a free agency video about a guy who didn't even play the season before. And it was just the most random thing that's ever happened on this channel. So we must discuss Cameron Meredith being signed by the New England Patriots. An epic signing, Dilly Vanilli.
An epic signing, no doubt about it. I love it. I mean, I saw the Patriots. I was like, but you know, I got to appreciate the fact that Cameron Meredith has given us so much love on this channel. We're gonna start off with that. We've also got the Seahawk, Father Hawk, if you will, Kevole. Kevole, how are you doing today?
I am good. Remember, everyone, winning is a better painkiller than penicillin. An inspiring quote from Vic Fangio.
That is the way to go. He coached the Hall of Fame game last night. He was in the hospital the morning up. All right, that's commitment. That's not even a regular season game, Kev. This is the Hall of Fame game.
This is the Hall of Fame game, the worst football game that will be played all year.
And guess what? They won that game.
Yes, so they did.
It was worth it, I guess. Congratulations. We're going to talk about Kevole's standings as well. Mitch and I did those team previews. We weren't able to get into Kev's rankings, so we're going to have his top tonight. And also, we're going to be discussing the NFL Top 100 Players list. We got a lot of things to talk about. A joke in some people's mind. A lot of crazy things to think about that. But first, we're going to start off with Cameron Meredith. The man, the myth, the legend. He got 16,000 views on a video. I don't understand. What do you have, like 100 receiving yards last year? He didn't do anything, but he was still able to get some kind of viewership there. And now he's with one of our favorite teams. He's with the New England Patriots. Mitch, as a Patriots fan, how do you feel about the legend going to your team?
It's incredible. It's just a feeling like Jerry Rice has just entered the New England Patriots, you know? So Cameron Meredith, of course, he's kind of an enigma because he had 888 yards in one season with the Chicago Bears. Their number one wide receiver, a bright young star in the NFL. 4 touchdowns on the season. And that was really with lackluster quarterback play. And then last year, coming off an injury, it was uncertain what his future was going to be in the NFL. He's signed by the Saints. Everybody's excited. Possibly he could be the number 2 to Michael Thomas's number 1, but that never worked out. He only ever started one game for the Saints, like Dilly Vanilli brought up. Only had 114 yards. He played about 6 games where he was on the roster, but only really started one. So for the Patriots, of course, they've been in search for wide receivers. They don't have Julian Edelman at camp, which is kind of, in a weird way, allowing other receivers to shine and get more reps and opportunity to make the roster. There's been reports that guys like Jacoby Myers, a undrafted free agent, has been fantastic. Of course, N'Keal Harry is going to be on the roster. Philip Dorsett is probably going to be on the roster, but it's finding those other guys. Braxton Berrios is in there, and just Cameron Meredith is another name to add to the mix, along with Harris and Inman, some of these other veteran free agents who have had some success in the NFL that are coming to the Patriots, trying to make this roster and trying to really develop a role on this roster. The thing I do like about Cameron Meredith, if he is healthy and ready to go, obviously he was just cut by the Saints, so I don't know how great he is at this point and how much that injury hurt him, is that he does have some versatility. He's played in the slot in the past. He's played on the outside. He's a big body, which seems to be a trend with what the Patriots are doing with their wide receivers, getting bigger receivers, more so than in the past where they've gotten a lot of smaller guys. But Cameron Meredith should at least add add to the mix in terms of the wide receiver competition. We'll see what he can do in training camp. We'll see what he can do in the preseason. But I am going to be so excited, Dilly, to watch the preseason because the man, Cameron Meredith, is going to be playing. So I can't wait to see like Jared Stidham throwing him the ball, Brian Hoyer throwing him the ball, and hopefully all is well with him. Hopefully he's fully healthy, and hey, hopefully he does make the roster, but we'll have to see.
The man, the myth, the legend coming over to New England. I don't know if we're going to see him much past preseason, but, Jared Stidham, I like seeing him throw the ball. Brian Hoyer, the legend himself. Honestly, I just think this adds more wide receiver depth. I'm not a Patriots guy, so Mitch knows more about that than I do. But, they need some receiver depth. Julian Edelman's number one. Like Mitch said, he's not at camp right now. Get somebody there, because if you look at just 2016, this is a guy that they can use. A team could use a guy like this, but I don't know. He wasn't there in 2017, only had 9 catches last year. Maybe he gets more of an opportunity in New England. Kev, any thoughts? Anything about Cameron Meredith?
It's a low-risk move that the Patriots have been known to do. They did that last year with Josh Gordon. You also, I don't think Mitch mentioned this, but Benjamin Watson's probably going to be suspended at the beginning of the year. I don't remember if that has been settled or not. He also didn't mention Demaryius Thomas, or didn't hear him say anything about that or how good of a camp he's had. But Brady likes to spread the ball around, and it's another guy that he can do that too. With the Patriots, it's not about having one necessarily super dominant receiver, but it's having weapons and different options, and depending on the game, it's going to be a different guy. And I think it's a low risk move for Cameron Meredith to sign with the Patriots. And I don't think there's a lot of expectations. So.
Yeah, agreed. And he's only 27 years old. He's not old, particularly old. There's other guys on the roster that are older than him, and he can get this opportunity. So, yeah, low risk and could be high reward. That's how we feel about the man, Cameron Meredith. Anything, Mitch, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to add to the questions that were asked by Kevole. Ben Watson suspended for 4 games, so that has been settled, and obviously it's a different position, but Kev makes a good point. I think they're going to have to rely a little bit more on their wide receivers early on because, and actually it's been said that Ben Watson's having a good training camp. He obviously has that chemistry with Tom Brady. It's just there, like it's never left. So it's kind of a reliable option that will be lost the first 4 games. And probably the running backs will have to be mixed in there as well. As for Demaryius Thomas is still probably going to open the season on the PUP list. He hasn't fully participated in camp yet because he's coming off that Achilles injury. When he comes back, he'll likely be on the roster, and he'll start the season on the PUP list. So that's another guy that probably for the first couple of weeks at the very least, you're not going to see him on the field. So these younger receivers competing with some of these veterans that they've picked up from other squads, very important to see who can make the roster, who can stand out. And Cameron Meredith certainly has an opportunity here to kind of turn his career back in the right direction. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Cameron Meredith. So Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is for a separate video, podcasters out there right now. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you. Peace. Perfect
segue for the next discussion we have here. Kevole, you are the star of this next segment, all right? So Mitch and I have done the team previews the last couple of days. If you haven't checked those out, check those out because it was a lot of filming. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of filming and a lot of good stuff. We talked about NFL for a good 5 or 6 hours, okay? It was a lot of good quality entertainment. What's that, Kev?
5 or 6 hours, that's it?
That's it?
I feel like it was longer, honestly. I think it was longer.
It felt longer. In terms of like the actual talk, I think it was around that time.
Okay, yeah.
But our filming sessions probably went a good 7 hours in terms of stuff. So, yeah, it was a lot of filming, but Kev was not able to join us. But we are going to go each team by team. I want to get a little description of how you feel with these records here because we do have the records in front. Some of them I agree with. Some of them I am like, ooh, we got to discuss on that a little more in detail. So
I'll start with the AFC East. Since we just started there with Cameron Meredith, we might as well start with the New England Patriots.
Perfect.
I have them in a 14-2 range. I don't think that there's a lot of teams that are really in a 12-win range, but the New England Patriots just have the experience They have been here before, and it's really hard looking at this team compared to everybody else. They're not going to be at least in a top 2 seed, not going to have 12 wins. And really with a lot of the AFC, when you look at the AFC and what's out there, there's a lot of weakness there. So I do have them maybe a little higher than most, but I have them at 14-2. I have the Buffalo Bills at 10-6,
which is higher than both of us. Surprisingly, we're high on the Bills, but you got to.
I'm a little worried about that receiver core, but I think Josh Allen is going to make some things happen. I think Sean McDermott's a good coach, and I think they had a pretty good offseason. I like that defense, and their schedule is a really good schedule for them. So I feel like the Buffalo Bills are going to be a 10-win team this year. And I have the New York Jets at 4-12, which I think is low with both of you as well.
Yeah, we had 7-9, which I'm not high on the Jets, but I thought 4-12 was really low.
This is the one where I'm like, what, Kev? Like 4-12, like to me personally, the worst I can see the Jets doing is at the very worst 6-10. Like I think their upside is playoffs, but I think their downside is 6-10. Like 4-12 is a lot. Like what has to happen here, Kevole? Explain yourself.
Well, I don't even know if this Jets team is going to get along with each other. First of all, are they actually going to be like an actual? There might be 2 fights during a game with the New York Jets. I'm not an Adam Gase fan as a head coach. I just don't see this guy implementing game plans to win games. And I'm not a Sam Darnold guy. I just don't think that Sam Darnold is as good as people think. I do think Greg Williams is a good add, and I think Lev Bell, that's it's going to be interesting to see what Lev Bell brings, but I just think that the cohesion on the Jets scares me, and that's why I have them as a 4-12. I may accept 6-10 with them, but I don't see this team as an 8-win team or a playoff contending team. The Miami Dolphins I have at 2-14. I just think it's pretty obviously that the Miami Dolphins are planning to be a 2-14 team this year. I think Fitzmagic is going to have a lot of fun there. I think he might be a guy that you take in a fantasy situation that can win you a couple of weeks for a quarterback if you need it. But the Dolphins are not a talented enough team to do a lot. Then we go to the AFC West. The Kansas City Chiefs, I have it 12-4 because I think the Kansas City Chiefs always get off to a great start. That's the way that they do, but they do end up, when I think real football comes, seem to fail a little bit and fade down the stretch, and I'm seeing that with them. I have the LA Chargers, Mitch Milani's second favorite team, at 10-6.
Used to be last season, not this year.
This year. I actually don't think that the loss of Melvin Gordon is going to hurt them at all. I think that Austin Eckler and Jackson are going to be great. I love that offense. My concern with the Chargers is the size of that defense, and if Gus Bradley is willing to make adjustments needed during the year, which he wasn't. He was too stubborn against the Patriots last year. That's going to be the question. Denver, I have at 6-10. I think there's a lot going right in Denver, but I think it's going to take some time for that team to develop. Oakland, I have at 5-11. I think their offense is going to be better, but their defense is going to struggle. In the AFC North, I think that this is where there's going to be some controversy as well.
Absolutely.
I have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning the division at 10-6. I actually don't see the Steelers winning more than 10 games, though. So I think if there is a team that jump up, I think there is potential for that.
This is shocking because you are not a Steelers guy. I just want to say that.
And you got them winning the division, and then another team that's really hyped up here, which is the Browns. You have a losing record. What's going on with that?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to the Browns in a second here. To me, I still think the Steelers have a really talented offense, even without Bell and Brown. I think their defense is going to be a little bit better. But, one of the most talked about stories this year is Mike Tomlin in an organization that has been loyal to a fault with coaches, only got a 1-year extension. Not a lot of people talked about that. I think that's a very interesting thing. Baltimore, I got at 9-7. I think their defense. I think their defense is good. I think their offense is where I think there's still a lot of question. I think I like Lamar Jackson. I don't like their receivers. I think it's interesting, Mitch. You just talked about how the Patriots are going bigger. The Ravens went small, and that concerns me a bit. Let me explain my Cleveland Brown record.
We need to.
I also want to say something about the Ravens because we're low on the Ravens.
Mm-hmm. I had them. Was it 7-9, 6-10?
I think we both had them at 7-9.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of funny because we're usually the opposite of where Kevole is at with the Ravens. Like usually Kevole's low and we're high, or usually I'm the highest. But it's kind of like this season. I understand what you're saying about the offense. I just feel like they might be too inconsistent. The whole stuff with John Harbaugh, though, has me excited. Like, he keeps bringing up that they're going to do some revolutionary things on offense, things that no one's ever seen before. They're going to be so interesting and so unique and so different. So I'm excited to see it. I just don't know if it's really going to work out.
Yeah, that's my question, too. I'm just starting low on the Cleveland Browns. I do think that I'm not going to dispute that there's some talent, but I really want to see what Freddie Kitchen does. That's why I have him at a 7-9. I know that you have him at 11-5. I don't know what Dylan has him at, but I just want to see the team sync together. They haven't had a reputation of beating the Steelers and the Ravens on a regular basis, and
that's because they've been terrible.
This year they're not, but it's still, it's still a psychological thing. So,
can I ask a question, Chuck?
I do want to say that I'm more impressed than I thought I would be with Freddie Kitchens. I was a little concerned that they didn't bring in a veteran. That was my thing, but I could of all the records that I think I could be mostly wrong on, that's the one that I'm like, okay, I could be wrong on this one. They could win the division. I could see them getting potentially 11 wins, but I have them at a 7-9 at this point in time.
Can I ask a question real quick before you go on to the Bengals? Two things. One, you have them one game higher than the Bengals, which based on how I feel are just completely different teams. But also, they were 7-8-1 last year. I don't know how they take a step backwards.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm having them at like 7-8-1 is basically 7-9, so I'm keeping them at the same record that they had.
But how did they not get better? like at least an improvement somewhere. Even 9-7. I'm like, okay, but
are you thinking that the off the field's going to be too much for them? Do you not believe in Baker? Are you calling Cowherd 2.0?
No.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not believing in Baker. I'm saying just prove it to me in this division. Cincinnati, yes, I have them one game. Okay, so I'll just quickly change the record just to be fair for Cleveland at 8-8 at this point. But
we talked them into it.
Do have 6-10. I think their offense is better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. I think they're probably a little bit more talented than people are giving them credit for. But I just don't know Zach Taylor enough to say that he's going to be a wizard or not. So I'm a little hesitant on getting Cincinnati a better record, but I'm also not one of those people that is believing that they're a 2-14, 3-13 team. When you actually look at the talent of Cincinnati, the talent of Cincinnati is there. It's just they put it together? Can they be healthy? Can they can they get all of that together? Can Andy Dalton be consistent? If Zach Taylor can find a way to get Andy Dalton consistent, I think Cincinnati could be better than 6-10 and could surprise a few teams this year. The South, I have Indianapolis at 13-3. I think that they're just one of the more complete teams in the AFC. I think they're a Super Bowl contender. I think talent on offense, talent on defense, really well coached. Andrew Luck's an elite quarterback. It's hard to really argue much about the Indianapolis Colts. The Titans I have at 8-8. Not so. I think that there's a lot of talent. I actually like Mike Vrabel as a head coach. I think their quarterback is a question mark, and I do predict that we're going to see a lot more Ryan Tannehill than people think. Jacksonville, I have 7-9. I think their defense has taken a step back. I don't know how much Foles magic there is. I think he could get off to a good start. And we don't talk a lot about this, but is Doug Marrone a good coach?
That's kind of what I rose that question in terms of our preview. Like, I was like, I don't know if I believe in Doug Marrone. And we all agree on the Jaguars, which is interesting because they're like a team that many people think they could be amazing and many people think they could suck. So it's pretty incredible that we're all at 7-9 for this team. And you, believe it or not, are actually the highest on the Titans of all of us.
Really?
Yeah, we're very low on the Titans.
Yeah.
Even though like they're super talented, they have the worst quarterback now in this division. And their offensive creativity will only get worse. Like, I don't like their offense in general in terms of just the game plan and the direction that they're going with their offense. And I love their defense. I just don't think in that division, and if you look at the schedule, Dylan was just like crying at how difficult it was.
It's tough, dude. I would never want to be in this situation with them, what they're doing, because you got the Colts in 13-3, which we're pretty much agreeing on. Maybe win a game higher, but like, wow, like it's gonna be tough for what the Titans do.
Houston, I have at 6-10. I don't know if that's higher than anybody else, but I don't know how they're going to protect Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of talent.
6-10 is the lowest, right?
Yeah,
I have them at 8-8.
Okay, 9-7, 8-8. You have them 6-10. So yeah, that's the lowest.
Yeah, I have no idea how they're going to protect Deshaun Watson. I have no idea how they're going to cover up the receivers. And just
I agree, but they didn't protect Deshaun Watson last year, so.
Yeah, that poor guy had to take a bus to a football game last year.
They travel bad. Bad offensive lines don't travel well. That's all that matters.
Yes. The NFC East, I have the Eagles at 13-3. I think they're just the most talented team in the NFC. I guess the only question that you have to talk about and ask is if Carson Wentz can stay healthy, is he the MVP? That's really the big question. Dallas, I put at 10-6. I think that Dallas is the second most talented team in the NFC. I'm with you, Dilly. I don't understand why Dak Prescott wasn't in the NFL top 100. But it's always the same. What's that?
We'll get to that.
No, he's just laughing the way we were talking about it. Go ahead.
It's always the same question, though. Jason Garrett. That's my question. Washington, I have it 8-8. I know that may be higher than everyone else, but I think that Dwayne Haskins in a pro-style offense in Ohio State, I think is going to do pretty well. And so that's why I think they're going to be better. The Giants are going to be awful. Yes. I have them at 2-14. I really did consider 0-16. I'm not going to lie.
Jeez, I mean they're gonna have nobody to throw it to.
Honestly, it's kind of sad because I ranked them as the worst defense in the league, and they have Eli on the offense. So, like, how's that gonna work out?
Yeah. And you also had them at the highest record at 3-13. That's just so sad. Oh goodness, we didn't even combine to give them 10 wins. The collective three of us. And
I think it's really important. Their best quarterback was traded to Cleveland. So I mean that is
true. Yeah.
They're tough.
All right, I'm going to get some heat for this. Mm-hmm. I know it. But it's realistic to have the Seahawks at 9-7.
No!
It is realistic. I think, but I do have them at 10-6. I do think they are. I think talent for talent, they are better than the Rams. Jordan Reed is a year. I think that if they get off to a good 3-3 start, I think that they're going to be okay. I think their offense is better. I'm more concerned about their defense than I am their offense. And Pete and Russell will. And I think one of the things when you look at previews, it's still no doubt about it who the best quarterback in that division is. It is Russell Wilson. Yeah. Sorry, Jared Goff.
I don't disagree.
I think that gives you wins. The Rams I do have at 9-7. I just think that there's a lot of things that they are going to take a step back on. I think I love Sean McVay as a coach. I just don't love Jared Goff as a quarterback. I'm interested to see what that offense is going to look like. Aaron Donald is a beast, but I'm Also going to be interested to see what that defense looks like. San Francisco, probably I have them lower than everybody else, but I'm waiting to see a healthy Jimmy G. And if this team's depth is not there, it's going to be tough. But I have them at 8-8. Now I could concede to you that this could switch any which way, but I mean the top three are definitely the Seahawks, Rams, and Niners. Arizona at 4-12. I do like a lot of what Arizona has done. I just don't believe Cliff Kingsbury is the answer. I don't think going air raid in the NFL is going to be the answer. I might get Kyler Murray killed, but I'm looking forward to seeing him anyway. The Bears and then going to the North.
Whoa!
I just still think they're the most complete team in the North. I do think.
Whoa! Hold up, real quick. You can't just skip by the NFC West like that. Okay, first thing you said, the Rams are less talented than the Seahawks. Okay, what positions are the Seahawks better at?
Quarterback, linebacker, tight end. Offensive line.
Offensive line?
Absolutely. I think the Seahawks have one of the better offensive lines in the league.
Really?
Yes.
We'll be back.
Maybe from a run blocking perspective.
I think from a pass blocking perspective as well. Receivers, it's debatable.
What?
Come on now.
Defensive line, I will Rams.
Did you just say the receivers were debatable?
We have Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods. And then we have Tyler Lockett and an unproven DK Metcalf for the Seahawks.
I said receivers. I said debatable.
That can't be debatable. The Rams have better receivers.
You're not counting out. You're not counting tight ends in this.
Well, you gave tight ends.
The tight ends are like the same.
And I would say they're about the same in their categories.
I think we'll see when Will Disley breaks out again.
Defensive line, who's going to rush the passer? I asked you that on Twitter. You didn't answer me.
Well, we've got a couple people down the street.
Okay.
They're going to have to. They're
friggin' Cassius Marsh is going to be come back and just rush the passer?
Bro, I'm telling you, putting a board is going to do it.
The thing is, though, Jaron Reed is not out for the year, right?
He's out for six games.
He's out for 6 games. So they go 3-3. They're still in good shape.
All right.
So you said linebackers. I agree.
What's your thoughts on the 49ers? Or Dylan, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I was just saying linebackers, you said was the Seahawks. I would agree.
Yeah.
And then secondary, I would give it to the Seahawks.
I would give it to the Rams 100%.
I don't know about that.
I'm not sold on either team, like on the secondary, to be honest with you. Yeah, let's talk about those Niners, because 8-8. But first of all, they're our adopted son. We've already adopted this
I understand that you've adopted them as a son.
They're literally, that is our name for them, the adopted son, the 49ers.
I'm sorry for your son, but
if I was allowed to make a second
on
them, I would. But you know, what do you think? 8-8? You just want to see Jimmy G? You just want to see him be healthy?
That's part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, George Kittle is a man child in this league, but depth wise, they got to stay healthy too for them to be. And they haven't proven to be that this year. They're kind of in that Cleveland situation where I think I need to see a little bit more. Could they win the NFC West? Yes. I'm not saying that they have no chance of winning the NFC West.
Okay.
All
right.
So wait. So the Rams second.
Yeah, he has Rams second.
Okay.
9-7.
Fair enough.
All right.
Actually, I don't have the Rams in the play. I will say this.
None of us do. Just so you know.
Yeah.
You don't have the Rams in the playoffs?
No, none of us do.
Okay. All right. To go to the North, I have the Bears at 12-4. I just think they were a doink away from getting closer last year. They still have Khalil Mack. They still have a great defense. I do think the loss of Jordan Howard is going to hurt offensively, but I do think with Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky, they'll take a step up. Green Bay, I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I have them at 9-7.
I do as well.
I've been bitten by this Green Bay. Look out for Aaron Rodgers, but when you actually look at Aaron Rodgers and the numbers and what has happened,
You got to give him a new chance though, because he has a new offense.
Yeah, it's fair, but is it fair to give a wait and see and not like this is the great Aaron Rodgers and let's see and defend? Like, I do think that there's some steps in the right direction. I think getting Clay Matthews out of there is good. I'm not sure about Mike Pettin as D coordinator. I think that's I think getting Capers out was good, but Pettin as a replacement, I don't know. Minnesota and Detroit have been flipping a little bit on. I have Minnesota at 7-9. I do think that there's some real talent there. I think defensively there's some real talent there too. But they just can't seem to flip it together. And maybe we should be asking the same question about Doug Marrone and Mike Zimmer. Is Mike Zimmer a good coach? Like,
so far he's been a good coach.
He's been okay. But so, I like what they are offensively, defensively. That will be interesting. Detroit, I did make a change here. I had them at 4-12. I'm going to give them 6-10. Looking at that defensive line is really good. I think defensively they're probably going to be really strong. They can run the ball. It's going to be about Stafford, really. I guess that's what it comes down to, and I think that unfortunately, that they're just in a tough division too. The South, I have a tie. I do have the Saints.
Whoa! Hold on.
Oh no.
NFC North. I just want to say the NFC North. Anybody could win that division. Anybody, I think.
The North?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All those teams could win the division, in my opinion.
The lowest record I had was 8-8. So, if there's go ahead. Sorry, Kevole. Go ahead.
Who do you have winning the division?
Chicago. I have the Bears.
Yeah, I think we're firm on who we have there, but we're not set on like this is going to happen. Like there's other divisions. I'm like, all right, I know who I got.
Like I could easily see the Bears finishing last. Could happen.
I don't want to go that far.
I could.
Third. I could see them going third, but like I don't want to go last just because of their defense.
I do want to say, though, if the Bears make that double doink, do they make the Super Bowl last year?
That's what I'm...
I mean...
Would they have beat the Rams?
I think they would have, yeah.
Like, it's debatable for sure because, I mean, the Cowboys proved to be a bad matchup, but the Bears beat them in Chicago earlier that year. And we saw what the Patriots did to that offense in the Super Bowl. We very well could assume that the Bears defense, even at home, could have done that as well.
Yeah. You never know that. That's
it would
why
have
I'm
been
saying I can't put a low ceiling. Like I just can't be lower than like third. You know what I mean? But all right, you have a tie here for the NFC South.
I have the Saints and the Panthers at 11-5.
Okay. Another Panthers fan here.
I'm not sold on the Saints. I don't think that Drew Brees. And I said this on Twitter. I'll say this again. Anyone with eyes does not believe that Drew Brees is better than Patrick Mahomes, and anyone with eyes does not believe that Drew Brees is the second best player in the NFL.
Let's say that today, not like all time, but like today, nobody believes that.
Drew Brees is a legend, but I think the Mark Ingram loss is going to be key here, and I really like where Carolina. I like what they've done defensively. I like what they've done offensively. I just think the one edge that I maybe. I know that I put him on the hot seat a couple years ago, and I will never live that down. But I do think I give Peyton over Rivera.
Fair, that's totally fair.
Yeah, Atlanta have.
I do want to say about Carolina, like I had them making the playoffs at 10-6. But the reason why I didn't have them winning the division is just because of Cam. Like I don't know how healthy he's going to be from a consistency standpoint. I don't know if I can count on the Panthers for me to pick them and for him to be healthy. Like, I could see him possibly missing 2 games or something like that, but they could still squeak in the playoffs. Like, that's kind of the way I feel about it. I actually had the team that you're the lowest on winning the division, Atlanta. So
yeah.
I have them at 9-7. I'm not sure in this defense. They showed, like, I know it was the Hall of Fame game, but there was no pass rush. And I don't think Dan Quinn is that good of a head coach. I think that Dirk Cutter is a good offensive coordinator, but I don't know if Dan Quinn is that good of a head coach.
Hot take. There's a hot take.
That's a Seahawk fan.
But yeah, offensively, I think the Falcons are going to be exciting. Defensively, I think that one of the other problems
they can't be worse than last year from a defensive standpoint, can they? They're getting their players back.
Yeah, they're going to be healthier, but like when you have them facing the Saints and the Panthers 4 times,
sure,
that's where I think I don't know if I see them dominating the games that New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta end up playing against each other are going to be a difference in there.
That's going to be the determining factor for sure.
Yeah, Tampa Bay I have at 5-11, but I'm wondering if I have that lower than I'm wondering if I'm sleeping on the Bucs.
I have them about that as well. I think I had them at 4-12 or 5-11.
I had them at 3-13.
But it's weird because like I feel like they have talent.
Yeah.
But I don't love their they're certainly the least talented team in this division, and they have the worst defense by a lot, like in my opinion, from a secondary standpoint. Like I feel like their secondary is right there with the Chiefs for the worst in the league. And just the inconsistency standpoint from Jameis Winston, maybe he turns it around this year. And the thing about Jameis is I do think he'll have a really good statistical season, but I don't know if that's actually going to like transfer to victories. Like I feel like the Bucs are still some moves away from being a contender in this division.
Yeah, that's going to take some time, but it's certainly going to be interesting in Tampa Bay. And you know, Uncle Bruce is Uncle Bruce can get a couple wins.
Yes, he can.
Kevole's brother, basically. Well, go check out my Jamie's video. You know, cheap plug there for the Bucs stuff. But yeah, there it is. I gotta say, Kev, I like that you're very stern. You're very there on your opinions. You're not gonna sway. All right, so I like that. I do have a couple of opinions on it. We discussed them, but I appreciate it. I like them. Thank you, Kev. Now, let's talk a little bit more negative because we don't like a new thing coming around. Mitch and I talked this, was it 2 weeks ago, about the Madden ratings. We have something else to talk about. The NFL Top 100. Now, every one of us has an issue with it. What's y'all's biggest issue with it? Because I have so many problems with this list. Now, it's not like a firm 100 people. You know, like this is opinionated by a bunch of NFL players that play the game. I understand that. We all understand that. Mm-hmm. But, like, looking at this list, like, come on. Like, there's certain players no person in their right mind would put Jared Goff at 32 on the top 100 list. Like,
the thing about the top 100 is I don't really know how they vote. Like, how do they vote? Yeah. Because the thing also is about NFL players, as much as they know about the game, they also can't study it as much as, or like watch it as much as like us or like media members possibly can, because they are playing. And a lot of players actually don't watch a lot of the games outside of the opponents that they're actually participating against. And when they're in the offseason, they don't want to go back and watch games. Nobody does. So, like, a lot of the times they're missing out on some of the underrated players or some of the players that are a little bit lower on this list or should have been on this list. And a lot of times they're overrating names for the sake of their names because they're just that. They're names, and they might have been great in the past, and they see all their highlights on Instagram, but they're not exactly, like, incredible right now or deserve to be where they're ranked. So that's the thing about the players list that I always kind of bugs me, is because they don't really study it in the same way that we do, but they do, obviously, when they play those opponents, they have different perspectives on, okay, this guy's dangerous. We always game plan against this guy. So, like, they have that edge on us or on media members, but at the same time, they don't have the vast knowledge of seeing every player every season. So that's the thing.
Yeah, totally agree on that. Kev, what do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, I would agree with Mitch because, I mean, if we look at the NHL, I mean, you have NHL players out. They will go home and they will watch games because that's just it's just a different mindset. But it's also, I think the other issue is it's really tough to compare an outside linebacker if it's a better football player than a quarterback.
Yeah.
There's two different positions, really.
Absolutely.
That's also the thing that I try to do with like my list, and like Dylan helped me a lot with this list of like just trying to figure out, okay, we have to try, and I know it's hard, but try and put the players on the same level. And that's sort of how like I sort of approach it. So is Aaron Donald the best player in the league from a perspective of he's the most valuable? No, he's not. I'm sorry. He's just not the most valuable player in the NFL. But is he, because a quarterback is. The best quarterback in the league is always the most valuable player. But in terms of the best player, who dominates their position the most, that is where you kind of have to balance it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with Aaron Donald being the best player. That's not, but it really, I mean, it's more of a promotional tool to get the NFL. Like, I'm not, rightly or wrongly, it's a promotional tool to get the NFL Network some attention. And it's more of an advertising to get people talking than it is anything like feeling legitimate.
And I think it's fun, and I think it's like, as much as we may criticize the list, I think it's a cool way of getting players involved and talking about their peers and doing these cool highlight. Like, I love watching them. Like, and another thing about the top 100 that's been super successful is their social media influence. Like, it's huge on YouTube. You just look up NFL, just search NFL in the YouTube bar, and the top 100 will appear, like all the videos, all the clips. It's a very easy format for Instagram and for Twitter and for YouTube. And it's just, I think it's become a big thing because it's really easy to talk about rankings. Like, that's one of the things that everybody loves talking about. That's why we always make videos about rankings and stuff on this channel. So yeah, it's just an opinion, and it's kind of not even like an opinion in terms of one person. It's an opinion and a kind of a whole vast of players. So it's hard to actually understand. I don't know how they calculate the total. Like, do they just like add everybody up and then
mean
has the
score
most points they have up? I don't know how that works, but
I was like, maybe like somebody rates them 1 and somebody rates them 3, and they just get the mean score. Like, what you add them all up together and divide the players. I don't really know. I like watching this kind of stuff, and like you said, these are easy 3 or 4 minute clips you can just watch and be like, oh, well, this is the impact this guy has, or this is the impact this guy has, and it's fun to watch. Just going over some of the list, I mean, I like looking at the list because I find it enjoyable, and then think in my mind, okay, where would I have them? Like, I know Mitch made his own video and whatnot, but thinking, okay, do I really think this guy's like the 8th best player in the league? Do I think there's other guys that are ahead of him? Are there guys that should have been on the list? Are there guys that are overrated? So you talked about Aaron Donald 1. As Kevole brought up, who with vision had Drew Brees over Patrick Mahomes? I really want to hear that, right? Is that just because of like veteran? Like, he's been in the league. I
almost feel like at this point, it was the same thing with the MVP conversation. It's almost like a pity party. Mm-hmm. It's almost like people feel bad for Drew Brees because he's so great, but he doesn't have everything that he should have. Like, he doesn't have it. Like, I'm sorry, I can't just give it to him.
Achievement award.
Yeah,
what's that, Kev?
They're giving him a lifetime achievement award. Yeah, basically. I mean, because we were talking about this like week 10 last year, and people were like, Drew Brees is the player. No, stop trying to give it to him. Like have you not seen how revolutionary that Patrick Mahomes played last year? It's one of the greatest quarterback seasons we've ever seen, like at least in the top 10. And Drew Brees played great up until the Cowboys came. And then, if we're just going off of what last season is, which, we're looking at what everybody did in 2018, he took a step down at the end. So I'm kind of confused by that.
I'd also like to say, just like, this is the first time that Patrick Mahomes, or an MVP, has not been in the top 2.
Oh, wow.
Because I do, the only other time, if I'm correct, is J.J. Watt. Sorry, J.J. Watt was number 1 over Aaron Rodgers in 2014, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but one of those seasons he was number 1, and then the MVP was number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tom Brady was also... Oh, maybe actually Matt Ryan wasn't number 1 when he won MVP, but I could be wrong there. But like Patrick Mahomes, the MVP of the league, not being in the top 3,
is crazy.
That's pretty crazy, especially after throwing 50 touchdowns and what he did. Like,
yeah. I actually, to bring it up, I think Brady was number one when Matt Ryan won the MVP.
Yeah, he was number one 2 years in a row.
Okay. Yeah, that's insane. Just all the stuff that he did. I get that he's very young, but like, if you win an MVP, you should be at number one. That's just kind of how I feel. Even if you think about Aaron Donald, he should be at least number one or number two. J.J. Watt, I feel like should have been ahead in 2014 though, because he had a better season than Aaron Rodgers did that year, in my opinion.
I think he was number one.
Okay, then I hope so.
J.J. Watt was number one year. I just don't remember what year it was.
Okay, it had to be that year then.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
then Aaron Rodgers shouldn't have. Aaron Rodgers won the MVP, but he really shouldn't. They're never going to give it to a defensive player as much as they can try. Unless LT comes back, there's no way. I'm sorry. Aaron Rodgers is number 8. How y'all feel about that? Because we all have him as overrated. So, I mean, I'm not feeling that number 8 ranking personally.
I think he was number 10 last year.
Let's say that again?
He was number 10 last year.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know how he goes up.
Yeah.
After you said that, I don't know how he goes up.
Because he didn't have a statistically great season. Maybe the lack of interceptions. He only threw 2 picks.
This is also the thing, Dylan. Like, how do you balance a player probably being a top 10 talent like Aaron Rodgers is, and probably on if you have to calculate, like, the average, okay, where is Aaron Rodgers? He's probably in the top 5. Mm-hmm. Every player in the league, on an average over the past 10 years, he's in the top 5. How do you balance that and then the performance from last season? If you're basing it on the performance from last season, he's not in the top 10. If you're balancing it, he's probably somewhere close to the top 10, but probably not in the top 10. And then if you're saying, okay, this is just in general who are the top 10 players in the league, Aaron Rodgers is in the top 10. So that's another thing where the players are probably going to rate Aaron Rodgers because he's Aaron Rodgers a little bit higher.
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot of name recognition there, and when this guy is at his best, he's got a great arm and all of that, and I still think he puts fear in defenses. There's no question about it, and he has an influence, and I think that's in part why he's there. But I think history is going to look. I'm looking forward to what history says about Aaron Rodgers, because I think that's an interesting conversation about a guy that we, in the midst of everything we love, but how are we going to look at him when his career is over? Because he hasn't exactly been as successful as people look at, right? He's got 1 Super Bowl. For a guy that is we've put it in an all-time great category, he's got 1 Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. And he's got multiple NFC Championship game appearances, but
I would like to say so does Drew Brees. But nobody brings up Drew Brees in that conversation as well, though. Everybody just assumes he is in that conversation, and Aaron Rodgers. Sometimes I feel like Aaron Rodgers is put on a different pedestal when it comes to what he should achieve than Drew Brees. Like, I feel like Drew Brees, they give him the credit, and they don't give Aaron Rodgers the same credit. Am I off on something here?
No, I think to like an extent, I agree with you, because I think what we were talking about like before the divisional game against the Vikings, before that season, it was always about, they're 7-9, but Drew Brees is putting up great stats.
Exactly, but if Aaron Rodgers is 7-9, everyone goes ballistic.
Well, he did last season.
Exactly.
People are doing it this year.
Well, no,
and he's won 2 MVPs, and as we've mentioned, Drew Brees has 0.
Yeah, the thing with Aaron, the other thing with Aaron Rodgers though is been like, well, he hasn't had the talent around him, so he's carrying the team. That's been more of the narrative. With Drew Brees, I don't know if anyone's really expected him to win. I just think that they just love the stats, and
that's what I'm trying to say. Why is Drew Brees allowed to just it's all about the stats for Drew Brees, even though he went 7-9 like 4 years in a row, and for Aaron Rodgers it's like he has 2 losing seasons or 2 like mediocre seasons, and then he sucks. Like I don't understand. It's just weird.
Well, maybe it's because we think Aaron Rodgers is like the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. You just put like one ledge ahead. I don't really know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think part of it is that people don't like Aaron Rodgers. I think that's what it is.
He is not a likable human being.
I think people love Drew Brees from a personal standpoint, and that's why they love him as a football player more so than they love Aaron Rodgers. That's just my personal hot take there.
Well, I mean, you always the Drew Brees image you always see is the kid with the earmuffs and all of that, and Aaron Rodgers, you just see this guy that's just snarly in the media. RELAX.
What do we think about Todd Gurley being the top-ranked running back in at number 5?
He can't. Like, I just, there's no way. Like, I like the guy as a talent when he's 100% healthy, is one of, if not the best running back in the game. But if we're going off of, here's how we feel about what we saw last season, did we not see, we didn't see him at the end
I
of the
will
year.
say Todd Gurley was fantastic for most of the season. And then the injury happened, and then he just went downhill. So it is kind of like, also depending on when they vote on this list. I don't know when they vote, but like,
I would hope it's after the Super Bowl.
I would hope so too.
Like, I don't think you should be voting after the regular season. Like,
but yeah, that's a good question. I don't mind him being the top running back. I'll say that much, but I don't like him being 5th.
Yeah, Brady's one step behind him, just to give comparisons. AB,
Brady
at
6 is kind of surprising, even though I don't hate it, and I'm a Patriots fan. Like, I totally understand. I still think he should be in the top 5, though.
This is probably the first time he hasn't been in the top 5.
He's never not been in the top 4.
I was about to say he's probably not.
Yeah,
because this was 2009, 2010 was the first list, and that was after his injury, so it wouldn't have been off the list. To me, like, I feel like maybe one or two running backs could have been ahead just because of what we saw at the end.
I think that Saquon should be ahead, but that's just...
Yeah, and I think so too. And he got 16th, which is behind Alvin Kamara.
Is that also, like, again, another young guy just being underrated?
I don't think they give the rookies the respect. I don't think they've ever gotten that kind of respect in this. Like, because Alvin Kamara's only been in the season 1 year in the league 1 year longer, and like, you know, he's already
do want to mention Saints bias.
Okay, go ahead.
Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas in the top 15.
Michael Thomas at 13 is quite a stretch. I'm sorry. I like as a receiver, there's just like 5 guys I think I would pick ahead of him. Like, no offense to him, but like 13. Okay, I'm just gonna go over this now. I'd pick AB over him. I'd pick Julio. I'd pick Odell Beckham. I'd pick DeAndre Hopkins. I'd pick Tyreek Hill. Boom. There's 5 receivers I'd pick.
I'd pick Mike Evans. Hot take.
Mike Evans? I'd consider it. And I know he just got a big paid contract, but like those are 5 guys without a doubt I would pick over Michael Thomas.
13th best player in the NFL. That's interesting.
And 3rd best receiver. The only 2 guys that were ahead
Alvin Kamara is not better than Saquon.
Or 3, sorry. 3 receivers ahead of him. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I would probably put Michael Thomas in the top 10, but this is when
receivers or players.
Receivers.
Oh.
Okay. Like, I mean, he's worth something. He's not like, don't.
No, I'm saying he's probably like the 6th or 7th best receiver, not the 13th best player in the NFL.
And the 4th best receiver on this list, because DeAndre Hopkins is only 2 spots ahead of him on this list.
Rankings, yeah, okay. Let's keep going with the criticism here. Phillip Rivers at 17. Do you think that's just respect? He did have a great season last year.
Like, you know what's weird is that a lot of people have been rating him highly. Like, Madden gave him the 3rd highest QB rating at 94.
I think it's respect.
I think it's respect at this point because, like, he did have a good season. Like, I think he put up good numbers. But I think a guy like Ben Roethlisberger put up around the same kind of stuff, and he's lower on this list.
Andrew Luck as well is lower
at 20, and he had a great season.
You guys know how I feel about that.
Stephon Gilmore is the highest rated cornerback at 22.
That's a rating that I do like.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Odell Beckham, 23. Like, when you just think about that, it's just weird. Like, you know, but he's also been kind of hurt.
I like George Kittle, respect.
George 29. Kittle, where's he at on this list?
29.
29? I respect it. He wasn't on the list last year, obviously, but now he's 29. I feel it. Fletcher Cox at 28. Jalen Ramsey's like, there's
Fletcher
not
Cox should be in the top 10 without a doubt in my mind, in my opinion.
People don't talk about him.
Because he's a D tackle. That's why. Everyone talks about Aaron Donald.
Then we have a D tackle at number 1. Like, nobody wants to give that kind of credit to this.
This will piss off Bronco fans, but Von Miller in the top 10?
I think he's top 15. I don't think he's top 10, though. I've had Fletcher Cox ahead of him.
Yeah.
I'd put him in the 15 range, no doubt about it. But, yeah, not number 10. I agree with you, Kev. Bobby Wagner's at 15.
What about Russell?
Oh, that is that's ridiculous.
25th.
I'm sorry, that is ridiculous. Russell Wilson should be in the top 10. I would put him 8th.
I would put him in the top 15. I would definitely put him in the top 15. I don't know if I could put him in the top 10. That's just me, but there's definitely reasons to. He definitely helps that team more than
Darius Leonard is quite high.
He's higher than Jalen Ramsey and Fletcher Cox.
He's only 2 spots lower than Kuechly.
He had a great rookie season. He had the most tackles in the league. I think it was over 150. And this is where we kind of have to think like rookie aspect or whatnot. But can I say in my heart right now that he's better than George Kittle? It's, again, 2 wildly different positions, but I don't know about that one.
I guess your buddy Keenan Allen isn't that underrated, eh?
Where'd he get? That's underrated, bro. That should be top 30. That's all I feel about that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, if Jared Goff can get 30 fucking 2, like what is this?
Well, yeah, Jared Goff shouldn't even be on the list.
He shouldn't be on. That's the biggest circle on this entire list.
Yeah.
He got 32. How? If you're going to put him, I know Mitch and I had this conversation on Twitter last night, but if you're going to put Jared Goff in the same tier, which like a lot of people think have with Dak Prescott, how is Dak not on this list and Jared Goff is 32?
Well, it's not like they're not Cowboys on this list. Leighton Vander Esch is on this list.
Mm-hmm. The whole list is Cowboy. They have the most players on the list.
Yeah. Well, we got Leighton Vander Esch.
Melvin Gordon's higher than Christian McCaffrey.
Whoa! Wow. That's really Christian McCaffrey's 42 and Melvin Gordon's 34. No, I can't say no. I'm sorry. Alvin Kamara, not Jesus.
That's white running back bias.
Christian McCaffrey is the 3rd best fantasy running back we have here. Like the 3rd best fantasy player you could get. And you're going to use him in so many ways. 105 receptions, and yet Melvin Gordon's ahead. I like Melvin Gordon, but come on now.
I will say Melvin Ingram wasn't even on my list.
Where is he on this list?
48th.
48, yeah, he's in the mid-50s. What do you think
he
of
just
Carson
didn't have a good
Wentz?
year this year.
Yeah.
Look at his stats.
Yeah. No, he wasn't great, but
I still think he's around the top 100 players. Like, probably next year he'll be on it, but 48 this year after having that season where he wasn't really that great, I don't know. And Baker Mayfield at 50 is way too high
50,
to me.
50,
I know he was fantastic in his rookie year, but
they're shooting him up because of predictions. Like they're expecting it. That's how I feel about that.
Maybe.
Well, what were you gonna say?
Him being higher than Watson though is
pretty insane. Which you had this talk.
I had this talk.
What do you got?
Fitzgerald at 60. I'm just pointing these things out right now. Fitzgerald should not be on the top 100 players of 2019. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
100% respect.
That's respect. Carson Wentz in the 90s.
That has to be because of his injury concerns. There's otherwise, because last year before that he was number 3. So, yeah. I mean, I don't think he's fallen 94 spots down to 97.
I was shocked to see Philip Lindsay on this list.
Where is he at?
Even though I like it, I'm not saying
68.
I dislike it, but 68. I was kind of surprised.
That's 1 spot ahead of Matt Ryan for comparison to everybody.
Matt Ryan should be way higher. Way higher.
He was 29th the year before, and then he got to 69. That's tough.
James Conner. Blech.
Yeah.
Your boy! James Conner's on the list.
Eric Ebron, your boy. He's on the list.
My boy.
I didn't. Okay, just looking at this, I didn't have Connor, Ebron, Lindsay, or Jason Pierre-Paul on the list right there.
Oh, JPP is on the list.
I don't hate that, but
I do like the amount of Cowboys. I just want to appreciate that. You know, they got the places, but the amount of people. You know, gotta appreciate that.
Gotcha. For those that are interested, here was last year's top 10. I'm going for 10-1. 10 Aaron Rodgers, 9 Von Miller, 8 Drew Brees, 7 Aaron Donald, 6 Todd Gurley, 5 Lev Bell, 4 Julio Jones, 3 Carson Wentz, 2 Antonio Brown, number 1 Mr. Brady.
So we have
their top 10 last year was better.
Yeah, it was more straightforward for me. So 2 of those guys are not in either on this list or in the bottom. Le'Veon Bell is probably not. I don't think I was on this list. And
I think Carson
he is.
Wentz,
is he?
I think so.
Okay, well, at least he's not in the top 10 first and foremost. And then Carson Wentz is 97 or 90.
Is he
in the 90s? I don't think he's on this list at all. Derrick Henry's 99.
Mark Ingram is on this list.
Oh, okay. He's at 80. That's no. I'm looking.
Taylor Lewan is on this list.
Okay.
What do we think about Robert Woods being on this list?
I think he's a lowish top 100 player. Like if I was to say the 90s.
I don't have a problem where he is. He's 76. I don't see that being in. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either, to be honest with you. Le'Veon Bell's not on this list. No. Not at all.
Okay. Derrick Henry is on this list. How about that?
He's at number 99. If they keep doing what he did in the second half of the year, I'm fine with it.
This is where I look at the top 100 and I always say at the beginning of it, I'm always like pleased on who they have on the list, but I'm always like they should be higher.
Yeah.
Like Byron Jones, Kyle Fuller, Mitchell Schwartz, Jarrell Casey, Andrew Whitworth, all those players should be higher than where they are. I know that they're lesser known names, but their season last year showed that they should be higher than that.
Yep. Absolutely agreed on all of those names. You know, I just want to say Byron Jones is pretty much a top 5 cornerback. You brought up Jason Kelsey, definitely should be higher.
Is Jarvis Landry better than Edelman?
No.
He's higher on the list.
I think the playoffs pretty much showed that, but
yeah.
I don't know, dude. Cam Newton, 87. Like, does anybody think that Cam Newton's the 87th best player? Maybe because of injuries again, but like
that had a lot to do with injuries. I would imagine, like Carson Wentz was as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calais Campbell only 54th.
That's why it's hard for me to be like, where do I put in a player that just came off of a big injury? Like, I don't know what to do with that. Because if you just look at it and don't remember that, and you go back to lists and you're like, how is Carson Wentz 97th this year? It's because of that. It's like, I don't know about that. Kirk Cousins, 78th. How are we feeling about that?
I didn't have him on my list, but because they have more quarterbacks, I don't mind him being on the list.
Okay.
I don't think he should be higher than Cam or Wentz.
Or Carson.
Yeah. If you want him on the list, put him at like 90. Like, put him in where Wentz is. I'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with your assertion that these players are fine, like if they're on the list, except for a couple of names. But like the rankings of such is just, it's funky to me. I like looking at them. I enjoy them, but like, okay.
Yeah.
Any more things to say about the top 100?
It creates conversation. I do think just one person. I do think Adam Thielen should be in the 40s, 50s, not in the 30s.
I agree.
But other than that, it creates good conversation. I think it would be interesting one year for someone to do a research of how many new players they put in every year.
That would be interesting.
I wonder if there's like, okay, we got to make sure that we get enough new guys for people to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Right. Because if they just put the same 100 guys, it's like
basically at this point, I've done I've seen the Tom Brady thing so many times. There's only so much you can say about Tom Brady at this point. Like for the past like 4 years, it's just been like, yeah, man, he's the GOAT. Like 5 different players saying he's the GOAT, and that's the whole video. like basically.
I mean, this man's amazing. He wins Super Bowls, fall, AFC Championship games. I mean, what else could you possibly add to that? I mean, he's great, but we need to have somebody there. You know, we can get different player profiles on guys like Mahomes this year, who they put as Pat Mahomes, not Patrick Mahomes. Okay, and some other guys like that. So, yeah.
All right.
All right. Anything else we want to discuss here? I don't know if we have anything else to add here.
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for episode 12 of the Bottom Line podcast. But before we go, we must shout out everything. Kevole, what do you got to plug? What do you have to offer us?
Just to look out, we're going to be talking. We've got a few things on the pike. We're taking a break this week. It's a long weekend up here in Canada. But we're going to be talking analytics. And hockey analytics and what's good and what's that, and we're going to start getting into previews as well, and who's improving, who's not improving, things like that in the NHL. So keep an eye out for that.
Where can you find that?
Spreaker.com, Kevole, or subscribe on all of your favorite podcasts. And we are going to be doing some live stuff as well, by the way. So we're going to be doing some Saturday live stuff.
Where's the live stuff? Facebook?
I think we're trying to determine that, but I think it's going to be on Facebook Live and YouTube.
Okay.
Now with with Google Hangouts not out, I just want to make sure that we have a system in place. So, but it looks like we do. So.
All right.
Perfect. What do you got, Mitch? What's coming up here?
I don't know. Just the team previews. Keep on watching those. I work on those every day, basically editing them and putting them up. So just for the rest of the week, that will be going out. And then after that, probably fantasy football. And then we're kind of just transitioning into the season, basically.
Yeah, we're less like 4 weeks away. I'm very excited.
Maybe we'll do like a preseason game live stream or something. I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably do a Patriots game or something.
If I'm not working, I might join you on that. I'll let you know that.
All right.
And also for me, of course, we got the podcast going. If you have not checked out the Jameis Winston video, go check that out. I really enjoyed making that video. He's a guy that I've always had an opinion on. So getting that out there to the fans, I appreciated making that. Next week, my next player topic is Amari Cooper. I get to talk about my own team. Yes, how Amari Cooper changed the offense for the Cowboys for the better. So I am very much looking forward to that, so stay tuned for that. So, for Kev and Mitch, it's still on the bottom line view. Peace out, guys.
Peace!
Peace.